Hello, Abigail here with the astrology and the tarot energy reading for the full moon in Aries. This full moon happens on the 6th of October at 11:47 p.m. Yes, EST. And it is very special. Firstly, because it's the first kind of Mars moon we get this year that has a happy, fulfilled Mars as its ruler. Mars is in Scorpio, separating from its square with Pluto. Thank goodness. And we're kind of the influence is still there, but we're kind of moving past it, and the kind of major point of that aspect is kind of dissolving. So there's a sense of release and freedom. This is also the official end of eclipse season because we've had that kind of 2 weeks runoff to kind of another axis of lunar moments that helps dispel that kind of eclipsey energy. So we're going to be finally on the other side after we experience this full moon in Aries. Also, this moon isn't massively aspected by a lot of stuff that's going on. The ruler is aspected, like I said, with Pluto, but we aren't really dealing with a lot of other conversations with other planets in this moment. We do have Chiron kind of up in the upper area of Aries, not super close. So there are still kind of Chiron themes, but it's more of like the themes that we've had since we've been in Chiron, not like an action point around Chiron topics. This is about liberation. This is about embracing your ability to make choices and to activate on your own behalf. It's about believing in self and the power of an individual in the context of the collective. It's not isolationist, it's not individualism, it's just what you can do as a part of the whole, what you can activate in the context of your circumstances. They may not be great circumstances, but you get to choose in the context of that. And I do think we're going to get to choose. Part of it's because I'm looking at the tarot down here. There are some nice options. But this is a moment of eclipse final celebration, making it through that really tenuous time. It's a moment to shed some of the grief that feels very heavy in the air. Doesn't mean it's going to go away, doesn't mean things aren't bad, but it means that we get a little bit of a release, a little bit of a cleanse. I would encourage you, especially in this full moon, to let yourself feel your feelings, to dig deep into that Mars in Scorpio and let your kind of deepest, darkest fears and thoughts have a moment to express themselves, have a moment to scream into the void, have a moment to say, this is how I truly feel when I'm not trying to survive, when I'm not forcing myself to be in a certain state of being in order to maintain hope. I think what you will find is that you will find hope in those dark pockets, in those places of rage. Hope also lives because rage is a desire to live. Anger is actively participating in the world as it is without forcing yourself to believe in illusion, to believe in comforts and the things that are sent to distract us. Rage is hope. Despair, in a sense, can also be hope. It can be it's kind of a weird mind loop, but feeling despair is you still participating in the world. Apathy is the absence of hope. Despair is the rage against what has happened and against the hope that has been taken or misused or lost in a sense. And I find that rage and despair, when tempered, can be great activators for change and for reconnecting with hope and vitality, because to pretend they don't exist simply creates a world that isn't real, creates a world that you don't live in, that your body says that's not right. And so there's this back and forth between the psyche that's trying to protect you from what is real and the body that knows what is real because it is experiencing it physically. So this is a great lunation to connect with your body, to connect with what is real for you, to rage, to be upset with how things have gone, to recognize where you feel under resourced. This is also going to be reaffirmed at the end of this week with this Venus Saturn opposition. It'll be a different flavor, but it is also facing how things are in the context of relationship and or the lack thereof, depending on where you are. So really soak this up, enjoy it. We also, this is the partner to the new moon in Libra. That's going to be quite nice. Once we get, what day is that? Is it like what, 28 degrees, 21st of October? So this is kind of the precursor to that. A lot of what you can shed and experience and enjoy is really going to also help you lean into a really nice Venus ruled, Venus domicile new moon. The next 2 weeks, I think, even though looking at my stuff, yeah, there's some tricky stuff happening. We do get things like Pluto direct and a lot of nodal activation coming in the next 2 weeks. It feels like things are starting to move. It feels like we're kind of getting back on like the chariot with the reins of the chariot of our journey. The universe tends to take over those reins during eclipses, and we're kind of taking them back while still in partnership with the universe. But we get a little bit more of a say moving forward. So this moon is a hopeful moon, but it's a moon that needs to be honest. It needs to hope in the context of reality, not hope in the context of illusion, because that's not really what hope is. Hope in illusion isn't really hope. Hope in reality is. Because if it's an illusion, then one second. What you're being hopeful with, sorry, something popped up on my screen. What you were being hopeful with doesn't really match what's going on in the world, and hope is resilience. And if you don't need resilience in your illusions, then it's not really hope. Anyways, get off that tangent, but let's move into our tarot for this moment. I do love this because this is so on the nose. Ace of Wands. It really does feel like this moment in astrology is an opportunity for a new beginning, a new start, a new connection with ourselves, taking everything that has happened in 2025 so far and informing how we move forward with our passions and our desires and recontextualize what we want to put our energy and our time and our vitality into. That is what this moon is about. It is about reconnecting with what we want to do with our lives, knowing what we are dealing with, knowing what kind of obstacles are going to be coming into our way, knowing that we will be facing some pretty sticky odds. And there is a beauty and a hope to that, to know that you are doing this. And while doing it, we experience these moons in the collective. There are other people experiencing the same moment who hope and believe in a similar world to what you believe in. And that is a beautiful thing. There's a need to individuate within the collective while also being a part of the collective with this moon. And then also I said we have choices, Two of Swords. This also feels like the kind of final moments of that eclipse energy. I was getting this all the time during the eclipses, people having to make karmic choices. I was getting so many readings where the cards were like, so there's not really a set, there's not really a set outcome for this. You get to make a choice, which isn't always what people want to hear, but it's what the cards want to say. And you get to choose your path moving forward with this Aries moon, knowing what has happened, understanding what you will have to do in the immediate future, even if you don't know what the future holds. So make the choice that is best for you in this moment and with your understanding, because that is the best you can do and the most the universe asks of you. And then we have our lovely King of Wands. In making these choices, kind of like what I just said, it's about ownership. It's about owning what you want, your desires, your needs, saying these are mine and this is how I need them to be met. And you find a way to negotiate that within community, within relationships, even within our own selves. This is also, I think, a moment for a lot of us who felt a bit untethered to root back into our passions and desires, things we've had to back burner because the eclipses have been tearing things up. So come back to the stuff that you have had to put aside. Come back into connection and relationship with things that give you joy and really connect with that desire and your needs during this full moon. This is a great opportunity to release and also ground. Mars is great for connection to our bodies, to the world we live in, to our rage, to our ability to be resilient. And then we have this Three of Wands. It does feel like we are headed into something fresh. We're kind of past that Two of Wands stage in a sense, and we have sent out our dreams and our desires into the universe, and we are still waiting for them to come back. And a part of that is this King of Wands, this pulling back in our power and our energy. I think something that might be really good to do during this full moon is to do an energy callback, to call back your energy from any place where it has wandered, from any place where it has been taken without consent, from any place where you are done and finished, where your energy may be lingering. Call it back in, bring it back into the body, maybe do an aura cleanse, envisage a light, whatever color you want, pouring down and cleansing your aura, realigning your energy cords, re-engaging those with the body, um, getting kind of your spiritual self right, a cleansing, a head wash, anything that you can reset and release in this full moon will really help, especially with moving into the kind of final quarter of 2025. And last but not least, well, maybe not least, because this card underneath here I think is also part of this. We do have this lovely Three of Swords. This moon isn't about escaping our pain. It is about engaging with it. It is about connecting with um, our hurt as a way to move forward, as a way to connect with what we need, instead of it being just hurt, which it can be just hurt if we need it to be sometimes. This is also about recognizing that hurt often shows us the way forward. Hurt shows us the way in which we don't want to treat other people. Hurt can show us the ways in which we refuse to be engaged with again. Hurt guides us to avoid certain consequences. Our trauma is left in our bodies and minds to keep it from being engaged with again if possible. It can get entangled because minds are complicated things, and suffering doesn't go away just because we can alchemize it into something else, but it's also an indicator of our direction moving ahead. And anyone who's experienced intense trauma knows that you do not know who you would be without it. And so there is a moment of just recognizing that your pain and suffering is a part of you. It doesn't have to be the only thing that you are, but reintegrating it as a part that is important and essential to understand your experience rather than as something to be ostracized or purged. It is something to be integrated. And last but not least, we get the star. This is about hope. This is a very hopeful lunation. Dig into hope, feed off of hope, listen to your spirits and ancestors and guides. When I get this, this is always a little, it means what the card means, but it's also a nudge that there are beings and unseen things that are protecting and caring for you and guiding your way, whether you talk to them or not. And they are here for you and in your corner, especially in this moment. Anyways, my loves, that is my reading for this week. And, well, not this week, for this full moon. Me doing back-to-back videos and forgetting what I'm doing. But I wish you a really blessed full moon in Aries. I wish you release. I wish you recognition. I wish you reconnection with your passion and your desires. And I wish you hope. And I will see you in a different space and time.